I realize that there's no chair, so I guess I will chair until you all appoint a chair, which will be soon. So we will call the meeting to order. It's 5:33. First of all, I'd like to welcome our new member, Reed Parker, who was just recently appointed by the select board. So welcome, Reed, and maybe a round of introductions from everyone.
Thank you.
So yeah, you all want to just introduce yourselves.
Hi, Reed. I'm Terry Marin, and I'm on the Conservation Commission, and glad to have you on board.
Thank you.
Hi, Reed. I'm Danielle Doucette. We met, I think, at the interview meeting at the select board meeting. I am representing Parks and Rec.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Jeff Ferris. I met you when you interviewed with the select board. I'm on the select board, and I'm the select board representative on the committee.
Yeah, I remember meeting with you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you for your positive vote too.
Actually, I didn't vote, and because I didn't think it was appropriate for me as a committee member voting.
Oh, yes.
You know, that just didn't feel right to me.
Yeah. Well, thank you to the board overall for electing me.
Yeah, I will let them know.
I think that leaves me. Hi, Reed. I'm Kim Stinson. I'm the executive director for the Catamount Outdoor Family Center. So welcome on this committee.
Okay, thank you.
Oh,
Oh,
Pat.
great. This is Pat Brown. I'm at the I'm at Town Central here, and I'm just a regular old citizen on the board.
and my name's Melinda Scott, and I am the town conservation planner, and I staff this committee.
Thank you all.
Yeah, so is there any public comment of items that are not on the agenda? All right, hearing none. Let's go on to the approval of the July 12th minutes. That was a long time ago. So I can just scroll through, and if anybody has any suggestions for revisions, maybe I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see it better. Any comments? Someone want to entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion to minutes.
I'll second that.
Okay. Now, move on to appointment of chair and vice chair.
Don't we need to vote on the minutes?
Oh, right. Yes,
Small procedural thing.
right. All who in favor of approving the minutes as written, say aye.
Aye.
I
And I'm going to abstain because I wasn't present.
No.
I wasn't there either.
Okay,
Danielle.
well. Sounds like we have, and I guess,
I was
Yeah.
there as a member of the public at that time.
uh-huh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I did attend and I did read through them, so I would approve them.
Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3. Is that right?
Three voting.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Now you can move on to the appointment of chair and vice chair. Would anyone like to nominate someone to serve as chair? I know, Terry, you expressed some interest in being chair, and I haven't heard any interest from anyone else.
Okay, so there's no one chomping at the bit to serve as chair. I will go ahead and give a go, give it a try,
Uh,
be the chair.
I guess, I don't
Or
know.
does somebody have to nominate me or?
Make
how
it
does that work?
official. Do you want to, somebody want to nominate
Yeah, I'll
and second?
nominate Terry to be chair.
Okay.
Well, that was quick, Pat. Thank you.
Well, I could sit around and wait, but I figured it was time to do it.
All right.
Nominate Pat as assistant chair then.
All right. I like that.
Yeah. do you-
All right, good job.
Do we have a second? On the
Second.
nomination for chair?
I second it. This is Danielle.
Okay. All right. And do you want to have the vote for chair and vice chair at once?
Sure.
Anybody feel like serving as vice chair? It's not that hard. You just take over when the chair isn't there.
Yeah.
Help facilitate meetings.
Didn't
Okay.
Danielle just nominate Pat?
I nominate Pat for that position, but if not, I can do it.
I guess he has to accept, right?
All right. We have a second.
I'll second.
Okay. All right, vote.
What would it be, all in favor?
Oh, yeah, voting to approve the appointment of Terry Marin as chair and Pat Brown as vice chair of the Catamount Forest Committee. All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Aye.
Okay. Great.
Who was vice chair before?
I'm not sure if we
I'm
have.
not sure there was one.
Okay, so Terry, why don't you take it away?
Okay, I've never done this before, so I need a little help along the way.
Yeah.
So I guess the next thing on the agenda would be the VOREC grant proposal.
Just
All right.
before we move on to that, Terry, if you don't mind, one thing that might help is for you and Melinda to work together to come up with the agendas
Okay.
in the future.
Mhm.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep,
Great.
that's,
And thank you, Terry, for being chair, and thank you for also agreeing to do that.
Sure.
Mhm.
And I guess for the Conservation Commission, Melinda, don't you meet with Laura at some point?
yeah, we usually have like a, I don't know, 15-minute or so phone call the week before the meeting, just to chat about the
Yeah.
next week's agenda. So we
Okay.
can do likewise.
Yeah. And then the other point I would raise with the members here is if you have something you'd like on the agenda, it's probably best to go through Terry. And then she'll work with Melinda to either get it on this agenda or another agenda, or to say no, which hopefully they'd offer a reason why no.
Mhm. Yep.
Okay. All right, so we'll later on, we'll figure out when the next meeting is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, oh, okay, so this is it.
So could you, Melinda, could you tell me what that acronym is for VOREC? What does that stand for?
Vermont Outdoor Recreation and Economic Development Collaborative or something of that nature. This is a new, sort of newish, and Kim, feel free to chime in at any moment because you're probably more familiar with it than I am, but this is a newish source of trail grant funding that was started about a year ago. And this year they have a lot of money, well, more than they used to. I think a total of $5 million to distribute to projects across the state. And so Kim had asked me a while back if the town would be interested in collaborating with the outdoor center to apply for the VOREC grant to develop and install enhanced wayfinding signage throughout the property, and to also build the access trail, the permanent access trail from the parking lot to the southern parcel, and also to purchase some trail counters for the outdoor center. So we, a letter of
Linda,
interest.
can I jump in there real quick? A little bit too of the history. The VOREC initiative started, it was about 4+ years ago now, actually, at a 3-day conference down in Grafton, Vermont, when I was down there. So it was a really exciting, huge statewide, well, really regional wide conference with folks as far away as Maine and New York in there as well. Governor Scott came for it. And it spurred off like all of these working groups, and certain initiatives were identified during that big conference. And so there might have been 5, don't quote me on that, but there were several initiatives. And like Melinda said, this is the first time that this amount of funding has come through the VOREC office. They have a relatively new employee that's heading it, that I think's been in the position for 5-6 months now. And so yeah, this is huge, because prior to this, it was primarily just the RTP funding that became available through the states. And so this is a big push. That's, here we go. And this is what we threw together.
Yeah, so a letter of interest was due end of August. So it was just like really a 1-page letter of interest that we submitted to do these, package of projects. We're waiting to hear whether or not the proposal will be invited to submit a full application, which would be due middle of November, middle to end of November. And, okay. Jeff still stopped his video because he has bandwidth issues.
Yeah, still here, just you won't be able to verify visually that I'm still here.
Yeah.
Just every once in a while, I'll go, hey, Jeff, and see if I answer.
Yeah, so anyway, we did hear recently that, I don't know, a couple of days ago, that they're having a hard time deciding who to invite for full proposals, because they received a total of something like $21 million worth of proposals across the state, and they have $5 million. So it's very, very competitive, and we'll just see. But one of the reasons I brought it up here is that if this project were to get funding, it would be great if we could be able to provide some match. And the particular source that I'm thinking of would come from the capital budget. There is money in the capital budget for the access trail. I think it's in the nature of something like $10,000 dedicated to constructing the access trail. There's also, I think, a couple thousand for signage. So between those two, that's that's some match. And you may want to consider also using some funds from the stewardship fund that we have, the $20,000 stewardship fund, but that's a little bit down the road. I would suggest waiting first to see whether or not we get invited to submit a full proposal. But anyway, and if anybody has any questions about the nature of the project, please feel free to ask.
Yeah, this is Reed. I do have some questions, not ever having heard of VORAC. And so I just Googled it. I see it's part of Forest and Parks for the state. And this write-up, what is the intention of it right here versus a full proposal? Was this to be just a working document for ourselves? Or is this going to the select board? Or what was the narrative for?
Oh, this was what we had to submit to Forest Parks and Rec. They asked all interested, all people that were interested in submitting a grant application to first submit a letter of interest. And
I see.
They're from these letters of interest, they're going to select those who will be invited to submit a full application. So that's the purpose of this narrative.
Oh, okay, thank you. That explains a lot. And so when we do a full proposal, we'd have to have detailed funding for the different components we want to ask
Correct.
for so many thousands or tens of thousands or whatever it would take.
Yeah, correct. We'd have to have a much more detailed proposal. And I believe, the family center has a very detailed plan for their wayfinding signage. So I think that's pretty much nailed down. And as well as the costs of the signage. The access trail is a little bit more murky. I have to get some cost estimates for that. I have been talking with someone from the Vermont Youth Conservation Corps, and they are going to be doing a new type of training next year that they're calling their Pro Crew training. And so they're interested in looking at it to see if it might be a good fit.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Hey, Melinda, I know we are meeting next week to do the annual walkthrough on the trails, and I'm hoping that we can scout that right of way again to get a better picture.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea.
Great.
We should do that.
We can take some pictures too. I think that might be really helpful, especially as leaves are starting to fall down. So
yeah.
Is there an actual location where it's supposed to go, or is it kind of open?
There is a defined easement that was granted to the town where the trail would go. It may have to be tweaked a little bit, but that will have to be worked out with Jim McCullough, with the McCulloughs, if we have to modify it in any way.
It will still be across their land.
Yes. Yeah.
But we're looking to possibly move it from their driveway.
Yes, because right now, I mean, they're seemingly okay with people using their driveway, but we don't have a legal agreement in place to use their driveway. And the agreement we have is very sort of handshake, casual agreement, and it can be rescinded at any time. So it's important, I think, to have a permanent access in place sooner rather than later.
Right, I agree.
And I think taking note too, that access, we want to be accessible for the farmer to be able to get up there with hay equipment. So we're not talking just a single track for hikers or bikers. So definitely something that allows tractors to get up there.
Yep.
Those are very large tractors. They're not your average tractor. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. I don't know. That's all I had to say about it, pretty much.
I think
So-
that
so-
the signage is going to be a great improvement, for great help for, I've met many people on the trail that have lost, and I've even gotten lost out there.
We
Mhm.
haven't lost anyone yet, Terry.
I finally found our way back, right?
No, it's a great system. Yeah, TC Engineering did the work, the backbone work on it, and it's fantastic with like "you are here" maps placed at strategic locations and things color coded based on ability and types of trails. So it's well needed and asked for. So.
Mhm. Were you gonna say
And the
something?
trail counters, would the trail counters just be for Catamount Community Forest, or would they be?
Yeah, I found a company, I mean, I won't get into in too much detail, but I found a company that does these and has done them in other locations, and they go underneath the surface. They will work through like 3 meters of snow as well. And they will actually show the difference between a pedestrian and a bicyclist. So we would be able to see who's coming when. So to really track that usage from day and time throughout the week and see what people are coming to truly use this forest for, because no matter how we offer sign in, it doesn't give the best and most comprehensive view. So this would help, drive future projects, whether it's future grants, to have this accurate data and help you guys in the town and us make management decisions based on who's actually coming.
Folks, Pat has been wanting to
There's
say
3
something.
components to it. One is signage, the other one's the road, and the other one's the motion detector.
The trail counters.
Yeah,
Yeah,
trail counter.
yeah.
Okay. And did you have to provide any just general idea of how much that would cost with this?
We did. I think we said the total cost would be around $100,000. Yeah.
I know that we had, I've worked at UVM and worked in the Davis Center. We got motion detectors and counters at our doorways, and it provided incredible different types of data that you could turn around and really look at what traffic flow was and use that to sort of make decisions as you were saying.
Yeah, that's exactly what this type of stuff will do, Patrick. It'll go, kind of right directly to our computer like every hour or so, to like say mine or Melinda's or both, and we can see that. So.
Cool.
Okay, so is there any more discussion on the VORAC grant? I guess if there's no more discussion, we can move on to the budget narrative.
Okay, well, thank you, Melinda, for doing that.
Sure. So this is budget season for municipalities, and the first item that we work on during budget season is the capital improvement program. So I was asked to provide a narrative of the improvements that have been done, progress that's been made, and improvements that are needed in the future on the natural areas, country parks, whatever you want to call them, and in that Catamount Community Forest. So I left and along with included in this parks narrative, the recreation director, Todd Goodwin, will also include information about the developed parks as well, but I didn't include that in this report because I wanted to really kind of focus on Catamount. So this just shows the progress that's been made, mostly talking about invasive management, forest management, and the conditions assessment of the sheep barn. I'm gonna make that bigger. New trailhead signage, that kind of stuff. And then for the future, this is sort of a bullet list of improvements that that I've come up with. Development of the new access trail, trail wayfinding signage, both of those, as we just mentioned, maybe Vorak grant could help fund. The replacement of some of the stream crossing structures. At this point, I'm not sure there's 5. I think some have been fixed, upgraded, and I'm not sure any planning and engineering is really going to be needed at this point. The biggest, sort of most complex one, as it turns out, is being completed by Velco as sort of their pound of flesh for the interruptions of this summer doing their line work. They are going to put a culvert in on the main access road where it crosses the wetland, and grade it over with stone. So I think hopefully that'll work out really well. Anyway, other stuff, work to the parking lot. The main thing about the parking lot that I would recommend is demarcating some ADA accessible parking. That's really actually a requirement for us. Having gotten federal funds, we need to be really conscious of ADA and accessibility. And that's the one thing, there's different ways you can do that. Obviously it's a dirt parking lot, so you can't mark the gravel. I mean, ordinarily you would mark the pavement, but you could put up signs, some stands basically that designate ADA parking. And for that size of a parking lot, the minimum required number of spaces is probably about 3, assuming that you can fit over 50 cars in that parking lot. The federal guidelines are really sort of specify a minimum of 3 ADA spaces.
Melinda, could we potentially sign on the barn?
We could do that. Yep.
Because that's right up kind of front and center.
Yeah.
It wouldn't need any posts in the ground, so.
Right. I mean, that would be a good spot, certainly. But I mean, that shouldn't take a whole lot of money to do that. Anyway, just something to keep in mind, maybe for next summer. For the sheep barn, we did an assessment last spring outlining the needed building repairs. So something that this committee should maybe think about is, what repairs, what work do you actually want to do on the sheep barn? What do you think it could be used for? What would you like it used for in the future? What extent of maintenance do you want to do on it? And I think I would recommend for now that we maybe spend a little money, like I don't know, maybe $1,000 or so, just to stabilize the structure so that it doesn't, spread apart. In the report, it was mentioned just putting in some steel cables, some ties in the second floor, just to kind of pull the structure together.
So we didn't already approve that?
Oh, we haven't done, no. Oh, maybe you did. I don't know. Was that approved like last meeting or something.
I think maybe we talked about it. I don't know if we really took a vote on it, but I
Yeah,
think we were in agreement that $1,000 should be spent.
okay. Yeah, all right. So I'm not gonna go on and on about that since you already talked about it.
Yeah.
And then also planned possibly for next summer is more active forest management that will likely require some regrading, resurfacing of trails. So that's kind of the bullet list. Feel free to, if you think of other stuff, other improvements that will cost a substantial amount of money, just feel free to chime in.
So were the stream crossings, I remember many meetings ago, were those were going to be taken care of by the town? For the initial,
They were, yes, we're going to pay for that, for the replacement of those structures or the upgrading, whatever upgrades need to be done. And that's actually in the license agreement with the COFC.
and the grading, the gravel and grading, is that also a part of the town's responsibility, or is that?
Yes, it is. The town, in the license agreement, it stipulates that the town needs to maintain the parking lot. The outdoor center is responsible for plowing, but the town is responsible for the maintenance of the parking lot.
So Melinda and everybody, Jeff here. The first question I have is, this discussion is about the capital budget. Is there a corresponding operating budget that this committee, for lack of better words, has?
Yes.
Okay.
There's for this year, there's like $2,000. So that is also a discussion. I guess you may want to talk today about what you want to do with that money. I think we had allocated it, to roughly to different categories like brush hogging, invasives control. I think I don't know. Can you think of any other? But
Does that need to be used by December 31st?
no, by next July 1st.
July, okay,
Yeah, we operate on the state fiscal year,
right.
not the more common and easy to understand calendar year.
Okay.
So Melinda, a couple thoughts here is some of the items that I'm looking here, and thank you for putting this together, feel to, well, I should first start with, I know there's guidance that the town has about what's capital budget and what is operating budget. And I don't profess to be at all that not that clear on exactly what's capital versus operating, although a couple of these definitely to me feel more operating budget related. For instance, the last one, active force. And so I guess my point is this, is I think we, $2,000, I'm guessing is kind of on the low side, maybe very much on the low side for what our operating budget should be. And then our capital budget should be for those more bigger items. For instance, even doing the stabilization of the barn, that to me is more of a operating budget type of thing. If we were to do anything major with the barn, and that's a decision, I guess, that still would need to be made, then that might fall under capital. Let's say we wanted to invest, I don't know what, 25 grand in it and make it actually in a place where not only could it serve as storage, but maybe meeting or other types of functions. And we felt it was worthwhile to invest in that. We'd want to go through the capital budget process for that. So I don't know what else I can add to that discussion right now, other than I think we first have to kind of ferret out what's capital versus operating. And probably in the first couple of years, we won't have a lot for the operating, although probably those 5 stream crossing structures, those might fall into capital also. They might be big enough, particularly if you have to go through a planning and sorry, an engineering step with them.
Yeah, and Jeff, I think that that there is sort of a wide range of what needs to be done with some of those crossing structures, but perhaps the primary reason why they're included in the capital budget is because doing anything to them requires an Act 250 permit.
Joy, yes.
Right, so there may be like sort of unknown engineering costs and generally unknown costs sort of the requirements of that permitting.
Yeah, and great, thank you. So probably what would happen, and this is based on how the town has taken on similar type projects, is the first thing we would do is fund a sort of planning feasibility study. And then if that proves fruitful and we feel there's something to move forward with that, then you'd go into maybe an engineering study. And then once that was done, then it would be, okay, how much is what is the likely cost of whatever construction it is we feel is appropriate or necessary. Okay, good.
And that's true. The same is true with the development of the access trail. That more so is that that's kind of a big deal. And I sort of estimated at, maybe it could cost like $30,000 to $40,000 to do that, including all of the, engineering. So. Okay. Yeah.
So would that be more of a capital budget item?
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And what's kind of nice about what Melinda's already done is we would identify a large source of the potential funding for that, not to come from town coffers, but from a grant.
Ideally, yeah.
So I think I'm just remembering back the last meeting. I think we agreed on the $900 or $1,000 to do the barn, because that was kind of, just to secure it. And then I think we talked about $600 to do the mowing over on the south side, in the fields.
Yeah.
And so is that part of that $2,000 of the operating budget?
Yeah, it sounds like it, to me, it makes sense that the, whatchamacallit, the sheep barn stabilization probably should come out of the operating budget, because it's not really a capital thing, budget.
Yeah.
And if I'm remembering right, the sheep barn to really fix it up was more like $100,000 or $80,000.
Yeah.
And that was possibly moving it. That was another thought. So I would love it to be $20,000 or $30,000, but yeah.
I put some feelers out to the Division of Historic Preservation on what we could do as far as if we decided to renovate the barn, would we be able to move it off its existing foundation and pour a new foundation for it? What materials are we allowed to use and that kind of thing. So hopefully I'll get some answers.
And Melinda, also on the switching back to the operating side, we need to include your time that you are giving us, the support you're providing as part of our operating budget, if I remember correctly.
Well, I don't think it was included. I think that my assistance is really done under the auspices of the planning department. So I think, and Yeah, so my
Yeah.
time is planning budget.
Yep.
And
Okay, as
Yeah.
long as Eric, i.e. the town manager is okay with that, then I'm okay with that too.
Yep.
Okay. Okay,
So do we, the signage, if we do end up putting that ADA signage on the barn, if that's okay with Catamount Outdoor Family Center, that we could get that put in fairly quick? I mean, instead of waiting till next year?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, And that, again, that could, I guess, that could probably come out of the operating budget. It's not going to cost that much.
Right, because they're already, it's not a special sign, it's one that you can,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and did you have a good source for signage, Melinda?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay,
So those look like it. Oh, and then the other question was the Ethan Tappers, the very bottom one, some regrade like that. Didn't Ethan talk about how that would be paid for through the proceeds from the logging to do maintenance on trails or repairs?
that is the idea. I guess I think it's probably a good idea to, and I think it should be in the capital budget because I think it could be a big ticket item.
Okay.
So I don't
Okay.
think it'll hurt.
Okay.
And that's really broaching a very interesting subject, which is when we do get that money, from, let's say, some logging operations that go on, where does that money go? And what I
So-
mean by that,
Yeah,
because I assume it doesn't go into a pot of money that we necessarily control. It goes into a pot of money that the town controls, i.e. the select board. And then I would hope that there'd be a mechanism in which what is provided by Catamount can be used to improve Catamount versus it can be used for everything the town does, including plowing roads and cutting grass, throughout town.
right. So I believe that the document about the stewardship fund document, the Catamount Community Forest Stewardship Fund that now has a little over $20,000 in it.
Okay,
I believe there is language in there.
great.
It says, it's the intention that the stewardship fund will grow over time through additional outside funding sources, private donations, and revenue from timber harvests,
Perfect.
leases, or other activities.
Yeah.
So there's
Yeah.
a mechanism there, and it was signed off on.
You got that? You got that by the select board? Good job.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Those idiots.
I think you were there, Jeff.
Yeah. There's long process for that whole,
Yeah.
all of that.
Anyway. Right, that
Okay,
is.
good.
that's another
Great
source of
news.
money.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I had forgotten that, but that's very good. That's great.
Mhm.
Has that account been set up already? Do you know, Melinda?
It has been, yeah.
Okay, great.
So I think the work that was done there, that Ethan did this last year, was paid for through another grant or something, right? So it didn't cost the town any money.
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
And it didn't get any income. We didn't receive any income from that.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay, so I guess are there any more questions on, or are there any more? Okay, there's still more information.
Oh,
That's still the same, yeah.
that's it.
Okay, does anybody have any more comments on, any more ideas to add to the list?
I guess the only question I have, just going back to the trail, regrading or resurfacing after the forest plan for 2022, is the time frame of that, because I'm pretty sure, and again, like I don't know all of the details and the timing to be determined of it, but I know the goal is to have that done in the fall because we wanted to disturb the actual forest floor to stimulate the new growth. So
Mhm.
by the time that work is done, it's very likely that at that point in time, because we're starting to hit that freeze thaw cycle in the ground, that the trail work will not be able to be done during that year. And it might be something that, ends up having to be done, in June or July the following year. And are there any implications on that? I mean, obviously there would be for us being able to
Right.
operate out there, but funding wise.
Well, say we propose this for capital improvement budget, that budget gets approved and then starts on July 1st. It would totally depend on like what year that money comes out of, whether it's, I guess the capital budget is over the next 5 years. And, there's certain monies that come out each year. And so not that like, sometimes if there's a more urgent project that we don't have money for until 2025, and a project that we were going to do this year fell through and we'd rather spend the money on that other project, we can sometimes move things around that way with some, finagling. But yeah, as far as the money goes, we should have whatever money gets allocated by July 1st. So of 22.
Gotcha. Yeah, and that'll be a tough one because we don't know what that's going to look like until the work
Yep.
gets done.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Know if Ethan's going to be allowed to do his UVM Talcott project this next year, in 22?
Well, that's what we're talking about, and I don't know. That's another kind of thing that we're waiting on approval from the state. So I have no idea.
Would he possibly, well, I guess would he possibly do another of the forestry plan? Would that be allowed, or like what he planned to do in 2023, would he do that in 22?
I'm not sure, and I don't honestly recall that there was any other major projects that were in the plan
Okay.
besides that one.
Oh, okay. I'll
But
have
we
to
can
relook
always,
at that, yeah.
right, we can always ask.
Uh-oh, I'm starting to have computer issues. So I might lose you.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess if there's nothing else, we can move on to other business.
Do you have any updates, Kim?
Yeah, I guess some quick ones. Perhaps, well, I guess stemming right off that conversation we just have, we are starting to receive questions from our users that come to Catamount about the upcoming forest management plans and the impacts that that's going to have on trails. So, and people's access to that area of the forest, because it's probably the most heavily used area of trails, beginner novice trails throughout the property. So I think collaborating and trying to find ways to get that information out there, getting Ethan more involved with that. Let's assume that project is going to happen so we don't surprise people. I know we're supposed to have like a 4-month heads up to when that's actually going to happen, but I think the more prepared we can get at this point to start answering those questions, the better, because that's going to really impact our ability to sell memberships. So knowing if, a third of the forest is going to be shut down for 3 months out of the year, potentially, however long it may be. So those have started to come in. The other one is, if you haven't seen this already through any social posts or newsletters, we do have an event calendar on our website now.
Oh,
So this is going to be super awesome for you guys to look at for planning purposes. Terry, if you can keep an eye on that so that you can be sharing upcoming events and stuff on your Facebook page, that would be great. And because some of these events impact trail usage and stuff like that for temporary periods of time. Yeah, let's see. And then, well, the Velco update is they've finished the project, but they are now just doing the restoration work. So they still have equipment that's impacting trail usage, but I have requested that there's no closures at this point. They just need to everyone needs to use caution, and that if, from my communication with Allie, if there's a reason, bringing equipment over the trail, and there's a safety hazard, they need to have spotters out there. So hopefully it should be wrapping up soon. I saw huge trucks coming in today to pick up the old poles. And then once that's all done, then that Woods Trace Culvert Bridge will be the last thing on their list. So that's going smooth. And then the only other topic I thought I would bring up here, because it came up in our board meeting this week, was fencing options around the parking lot. So last winter, we put up the temporary fencing, just galvanized metal for a couple of reasons. One, to discourage foot traffic and dog traffic just going on the trails, and encouraging people, especially because of COVID protocols, to park and come over to the hub and sign in and check in. So because the state was requiring that. And the feedback from people, especially over the winter, was very good about having fencing there to discourage that traffic on the groomed trails. And so our board, we would like to put something up there, realizing that anything permanent is, we're not putting posts in the ground, but we're considering options, whether it's movable metal fencing, like event style fencing, or like a buck and rail fence, things that can be moved and taken down for equipment to get through if need be for projects. So just kind of throwing that out there to hear thoughts, before we go too far in any sort of planning or discussion of that. What would that look like for us?
Probably you would, one thing you'd have to talk to is the plowing. Whoever does the
It would
plowing,
be set far enough back from the plowing to definitely make sure it wouldn't impact that at all. Yeah.
Yeah, I found it a little, to get onto Woods Trace and the parking lot, it was, to walk all the way around, it was kind of a hassle. I know that you want people to sign in, but if there could be some kind of a, even if it was not a walk, something where people could just walk around to get access to there.
Yeah, and what we were finding, and just the feedback, was that people were just going around it and then not signing in. So,
and now you have that sign in that you can do on your phone, right, ahead of time, which that would be good to advertise that.
Yep.
People could do it before at home.
We do. That's what I tell them. I'm like, have your coffee and sign in, or after you come, sign in when you're sitting at home. So let us know you came. So anyways, I mean, we would like to have some sort of fencing up there to encourage people to come and check in and see what's going on. So a lot of times there's information that we want to get across. So I don't know if there's anything that we need to do for that, or.
Probably should get a permit. And as far as, I don't know, I guess, when were you thinking about actually doing this?
Well, like I said, last winter, we had just put up the temporary galvanized fencing to make sure to encourage people to not go around it and to come in and log in. And so our board would like something in place by this winter so that we have the ability to, again, keep the foot and dog traffic off the trails.
Yeah.
Would that be a permit through the town, Melinda?
Yeah, a permit through the town, but if you're realizing if you are putting any posts in the ground, we'll have to talk to Vermont Historic.
Yeah, and that's what we don't want to do. So we're looking at either temporary or buck and rail, which just rests on the ground.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Would you be taking this away in the spring? So this would just be for winter time?
I'm not sure. From the conversations we've had is people want it year round to encourage everyone to come through the hub and have that touch point.
I guess I would like to get, that's the members of the Catamount Outdoor Family Center, but to get some input from the public, general public on, if they would be interested in that and what it would look like. I think that would be good to get feedback from everyone.
First question, I have Jeff here. First question I have is this addressed in the license agreement at all? No, okay.
No,
Yeah, I'm not opposed to the idea, and certainly an attractive fence, could be a useful and attractive fence could be, I think, I don't know what the right word is, a benefit, could be advantageous. So I guess my point would be is, let's continue to talk as what would work for Catamount Outdoor Family Center, and in addition to the general public, let's just, see if we can figure out something that works for both of us. I that didn't come out right.
No, it did. And I appreciate that. And some of the historical perspective that maybe not everyone's aware of too is the unauthorized vehicles that have gone down Woods Trace in the past, which is what originally spurred the first gate that the McCulloughs had put up there. And so in the winter, that gate is open because we use it for grooming, and that's where skiers get through. There have been unauthorized snow machines that go down there. There have been vehicles that go down there and use it for bonfires and partying. And Jim has expressed numerous times that that's happened in the past, and that's why the gate was there. And maybe that gate could go away if there was a fence deterring people from flying through the parking lot and down that road.
Yeah.
I heard you mention dogs. Are you having issues with dogs?
There have always been issues with dogs. And this last winter, we saw less dog traffic than ever, and mostly attributed probably to the fence being there and people having to go to the hub and seeing the sign, no dogs allowed, that they walk right by. I stopped a couple with dogs the other day as well. We're not allowed on the trail, but we're not going on the trails. We're just going to go over there and watch the race. Well, that's the trails. That's the forest. Well, but we're just going to watch, and we're not going on the trails. It's the forest.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's just kind of the ongoing.
Yeah, it's. So how many times can you tell folks?
Exactly.
So maybe, like Jeff said, maybe just if you came up with some options, some ideas of what you're thinking, and then people could kind of weigh in.
Yeah.
That would be a good topic for the next meeting.
Yeah.
For sure. Would you guys be able to put out like a community survey from the Catamount Community Forest Committee to try to reach a broader base outside of our user base? Because I mean, from what we're hearing from the people that come to Catamount is that the fence was great. So I'm not sure, like, if we surveyed those people, we're going to get a different response. So I'm wondering how to get a different response.
Yeah, we could certainly think about how to get some public input.
Perfect.
Yeah, I mean, you could,
Melinda, is that something, I know the town has done surveys before.
I don't know, we could put out a really, like, it's really just a one question thing, right?
Right. But,
So, yeah,
maybe identify some options, types of fence options. Front porch forum might be a mechanism we could use. We might be able to put some sort of like a poster type of thing up at Catamount saying, hey, here, here's what we're thinking, where would your vote end up on, fence, no fence, and what type, if the answer is fence is okay, what type of fence, that type of thing. Yeah, no, I'm just saying where this could fit well. Yeah, like a little intrusion there. Yeah.
Cat.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And what the cat's going to do is step on the button that causes you to exit Zoom.
Well, this is good. Grady and I talked today to start getting some options of that, both
Yeah.
from what it would look like and also a pricing option,
Yeah.
when it comes down to our decision as well. So once we have that, I don't want to throw out too many options because that makes it a mess. So I don't want to come up with more than like 3 potential fencing
Yeah.
options. So if we've got fence, no fence, what fence?
Yeah.
Kim, I'd be happy to work with you to
Thanks.
put together some kind of survey. Yeah.
Great, thank
And
you.
maybe when you're on site with us on Tuesday, we can look at kind of the zone as well.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't have much updates. Check out the event calendar and see what's going on because there's, the fall's busy for sure. And we'll be heading into winter before we know it.
Yeah.
Great.
Just one thing from the select board side of things on Tuesday night, under other business came up the catering permit for the cyclocross. I assume it's a cyclocross race. It wasn't.
Yeah, the Green Mountain Cyclocross one on the October 9th.
Yeah.
Yep.
And personally, I'm glad. I hope to show up, not race for that, but to watch it because they are a lot of fun to watch. Everybody, it's a unique form of bike racing with unique spectator input. Might be a way to put that. But the point I did want to raise because it was news to me, and actually it was good news to me. Others may not look at it as good news, and that is that alcohol. The catering permit means alcohol. I assume it's going to be like a beer type thing, and I just didn't realize that alcohol is allowed on town property. And the answer is it is not carte blanche, but it is under certain controlled circumstances, which Catamount Outdoor Family Center was able to demonstrate they'd have in place.
Yeah, and we did that last year for the end of season. We had the caterer come in and have to have a license for all of that. So,
right.
And I believe for this event, it's Lawson's Brewery. So, but the cyclocross races are a ton of fun. We've been doing the weekly series. This is the second week on Wednesday. So come check it out on Goose Hill. So.
Yeah. And what is going to be the level for the one that Green Mountain is putting on, or the Green Mountain cyclocross?
Like how many people, or I mean, there's different levels. There's even like a little kids entry. But cool. I mean, it'll be everything from your recreationalists up through pros. So it should be a ton of fun. Unfortunately, I won't be able to be there. My daughter's got state finals for horseback riding that day. So I get to miss all the fun unless we get out early enough. But
and this is a joke. They aren't holding the state finals for horseback riding at Catamount, are they?
We're not changing things up that much.
Okay. Just thought I'd throw that in there.
Thanks, Jeff. Yeah. Oh, we did have this weekend, if anyone was up there, it was the Burlington Invitational Sea Hornet cross country running race, which ended up being huge. So we are looking at ways, because we had the regular parking open, we had the oval open, and there still ended up being parking on the road. So we're going to be working with the school for next year if they want to host it for potential shuttle rides, from the Williston School and stuff like that, to avoid that in the future, in case that does come up for anyone. So
full disclosure, everyone, we certainly noticed that. Jill and I live on Governor Chittenden Road, The parking, cars parking, they did it very respectfully. It was not, from our standpoint, it was not an issue at all, but it went all the way down to North Williston Road. The only concern I think anybody should, I shouldn't say anybody, the only concern I'm recognizing is the ambulance did have to go there. I guess there must have been some sort of something where they wanted the ambulance there, and the cars parked along the side of the road does make it a little bit more difficult for the ambulance to get there as quickly as possible.
That's my
Um,
concern
yeah.
as well. Yeah.
But, great for hosting that event. That, very cool that that level of a race happens at Catamount.
Yeah, and last year we hosted it, but with the COVID restrictions, it was a run and leave. So we didn't run into that parking issue, between
Yeah.
the parking lot and the oval. It was pretty well maintained and people
Yeah.
came to the race and then they
Yeah.
left. So they were cycling in and out. Whereas this year,
Yeah.
it was a totally different
Yeah.
ball game that caught everyone off
Yeah.
guard. But
Yeah.
I'm glad everyone was respectful. So
Yeah.
we didn't hear any
Yeah.
complaints, but thanks,
And-
Jeff. Being
Sure. And
flexible.
then the other question is, there's lots of helicopter activity today. Was that at Catamount?
It's Velco. So when I left Catamount this afternoon and headed onto North Williston Road, heading towards Jericho and Essex, they were on the west side on the power lines, like right over it. And then I got to the horse farm and Grady's texting me. He's like, they're really low over Woods Trace and everything. So
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's them scoping the project work. They didn't say
Yeah.
anything else about it, but yeah,
Okay.
we got the
Yeah.
activity.
Yeah.
Jeff, I watched them from my backyard and they would go like about 50 yards and sit for a bit and then go another 50 yards and sit for a bit. And they had some kind of technology on the front of the helicopter. And they've done that before, but they tend to fly over pretty quickly. They were going so much slower today and it's probably because of the new poles.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. You can just imagine with technology what they could be doing.
Yeah, oh yeah, I have no idea what they're doing, but it was quite neat. And it was pretty windy out there.
It was,
Afterwards,
Yeah.
doing a pretty good job.
yeah, super windy.
Yeah.
And I think on the west side of the road, I think they've only got one more pole to do, so they should be pulling out of there pretty soon as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so I guess if you're all done, Kim, we can, I was there today. I just went over and was checking out, did a little birding, and I saw that the Velco was, a logging truck was picking up those big, beams that they use to go out on, and
Yeah, you likely got there right as I was leaving, so.
they've seeded down the whole area where they had been working, and so it looks really great.
Yeah.
So that'll be good. Yeah, so is there any more discussion, or does anybody have any more questions about Catamount Outdoor Family Center? Okay, I guess we can, the next thing on the agenda was the barn stabilization.
Yeah, we already talked about it, so nothing more to say. I think we've agreed to spend $1,000 to
Yeah.
do this stabilization.
Yeah. Can I just ask, hopefully a quick basic question? Is there interest in saving the barn?
We use it for all of our equipment and work, so there's some interest there.
Right, okay. But that could also be served by a different structure also, I assume. I'm thinking more of the interest from the historic preservation. And I maybe should have framed the question a little bit differently. Is there interest in saving it from the historic preservation? Now, we may have no choice in that. And maybe we have to save it.
I think
But I'm-
we do have to maintain it, I
Okay.
guess.
Yeah. What I don't want is the cost of maintaining it to become, because it's a historic structure, to become prohibitively expensive compared to other options, whatever, they are, replacing it with a modern, more durable type of building.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that because, I was sort of thinking myself, like, there is a need for a building, a more permanent structure. will that best be served by this structure? Can it be retrofitted and renovated in such a way as to be, good for that, to serve as a good, structure for
Yeah.
the outdoor center
Yeah.
and for a public gathering space?
Yeah.
Or is it just totally, is it going to be so expensive, it's not going to be worth it? So it may be worth it to have some sort of more detailed assessment done and alternatives analysis
Yeah.
done about, for building a new structure versus retrofitting this existing one.
Yeah.
Something to think about.
Yeah. And Kim, would you know, does Catamount Outdoor Family Center have an opinion about that at all, or you wouldn't know?
Well, I mean, I think an opinion, no, other than the fact that we need some usable
Yeah.
space to be able to operate out of.
Yeah.
I think, to echo what Melinda said, it really comes back to, what financially makes sense, because,
Okay.
there is a huge existing structure there, which I'm not a builder. I have no idea how easy it would be to
Yeah.
retrofit that. Whereas, could a smaller size metal type Connex building be put up for storage and equipment at, a $20,000 cost instead?
100, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And a couple yurts put on to have an office and program and public space there as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's definitely a bigger discussion of what makes the most sense. And again, just weighing
Yeah.
out those options,
Yeah.
because the other end of it too, if it's a public building, we have to consider water and septic and all of that. So retrofitting it to say the public's going to come in and use this, we now have to look at all of those utilities as well, which could be astronomical to put that in.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Good points. Does anybody look at the barn and go, "Oh my God, that's a great barn, we have to save it," versus, you know?
Uh,
I think we have to, don't we?
Well,
It's
I've
historic.
never heard anybody, say like, I don't know, say that we have to save it.
Oh, I thought that it was on the historical register.
Right. I mean, I just mean members of the public. As far as the state historic preservation, yes, they have an interest in keeping it and
Okay.
maintaining it, and they would like the town to at least maintain it.
Yeah,
Not-
unless we may not have a choice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, so it's not a requirement. It's not,
Well, it is, yeah, it is a requirement, but I think there's a wide range of maintenance. I mean, you can spend $1,000 and keep it tied together with a steel pole, or you can like redo all the siding and the roofing and the foundation and the sills. So there's quite a big range, and it depends on how, if anything, if any way you want to use the building.
Sounds
so I
like,
guess this, go ahead.
no, I'm sorry, I interrupted.
Oh, I think we were both starting at the same time, but I think it's just a item for, future agendas, items, and,
Yeah.
what does the
Yeah.
town need? What does outdoor
Yeah.
family center need? Maybe we could get a second, what am I thinking of? Price to see if maybe we could get a better price to somebody that could repair it for a little less money. So.
And just to throw out there, and I know we're over time, but the price that we had received from the first person, that didn't even consider like retrofitting it for, say, like the public needs. It was just simply doing all of the recommended, fix what you have. So.
Well, maybe LLB, since they're gonna be our new neighbors, Wilson, would be willing to contribute some significant amount
Right.
of money to help develop a really nice facility here at Catamount.
The LL Bean Center, right?
Right.
They put money into all kinds of things, and I don't know if they put anything into Burlington, but
Mhm.
that's something somebody somewhere could take a look at and sort of see
Yeah.
if there was anything that they would be willing to look to do for
Mhm.
Williston since they're gonna be here.
Well, Patrick, as a new board co-chair of the committee, I'd be happy to
Oh,
join
not
you to
co-chair.
go over to LL Bean and have that discussion.
I'll do some surfing on the web.
Then you can play off REI.
Totally.
That's right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty. Okay, well, I think that might be a good topic for future agenda items to go on with the barn, but we are running over, but of course we didn't meet last month, so that's, I know that was an issue when we were meeting every other month. It seemed like it went on longer. So what's the next we go on to setting up a date and agenda items?
Agenda items, you and I can talk
Oh, right.
about, the next, I guess we had sort of settled on the second Thursday of the month for these meetings. And the next one is October 21st at 5:30.
Let me get that into my e-calendar.
Second. Oh, right, never mind, sorry, 14th. Patrick is right.
14th?
Yes,
Oh, it's October 14th?
October 14th.
Oh,
Yep.
okay,
Sorry about that.
5:30. And probably it'll be Zoom again, I imagine.
So the second.
Things aren't looking so great, so.
Yeah, second Thursday of the month. All right.
Okay, so I guess, does anybody have anything to add? Any more discussion? So hearing none, I guess we can end the meeting at 6:51 PM.
Okay.
Great. Yeah,
Okay.
good meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye, everyone.
take care now.
Bye-bye.